Welcome. My name is Thomas, and I'm here to share in this video the Form 8867, which is named the Preparers Due Diligence Checklist. This is a very important form which you can get penalized up to $540 per each offense if you're found in not compliance, which means if the earned income tax credit was given to a client who shouldn't have got it, that's a penalty of $540. If you give child tax credit or additional child tax credit or other pending credit or American Opportunity Credit or head of household status to any taxpayer, and they come back to find out that these credits should have been given, then you can be penalized 540 for each different situation I just mentioned, which can be expensive and costly to the tax uh, preparer or even the person that's working for a tax firm if they find out that the tax firm knew about the tax preparer's inability to fill out these forms correctly. So when it comes to this form here, it's very important. So for clients and taxpayers who don't receive any of these credits I'm talking about, then this situation of being audited won't apply to you whatsoever. It's mainly for people who will get these different credits that's generally uh, a big portion of how they get their refunds uh, that they come after and that they look at closely. So in this video here, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, you like my content, please subscribe. Please share my videos with others who may be interested in my channel and my content. Know that my channel was put together to showcase my knowledge and skills on a very simple level to people who may be looking to start their own tax preparation business but don't want to do it by themselves. So anything you want to know for the topics I've already done that you want to go in depth with, then you got two options. You can find other channels out here on YouTube who have in-depth trainings on the same topics, or you can reach out to me in the comments or call me or text me or email me and ask me, you've done a video about uh, the Form 8863, the education credit, could you go a little deeper? And I'll either say yes or no. So those are the basic uh, core requirements when it comes to going deeper with trainings that I've already done when it comes to teaching you how to fill out a form or schedule. So I've been in the industry for 21 years, 15 as a business owner, and so I specialize in helping women start their own tax preparation service from A to Z, from being able to set up your front end, your back end, to learning how to prepare individual income taxes, learning how to use professional software, learning all the aspects of how to operate a tax service is what I help women get done who understand that I want to start my own tax preparation service, but I don't want to start it by myself. So, with that being said, let's get into the video. So, we're going to go through it line by line. The first one speaks for itself. The taxpayer name and social security number will go. So where I say tax ID number, normally for U.S. citizens, it'll be a social, or for a person who don't have a social security number, it could be an ITIN. So that information will go in that area regardless of if it's a social or not. Then the enter the preparer's name and precinct will go on the line below it. And then from there, when it comes to this section here, where say head of household filing status, EIC, child tax credit, additional child tax credit, dependent credit, American Opportunity Credit, and head of household, if you was doing this by hand, you would have to select those manually. But the great thing about software, it makes those selections for us based on the data that we put inside the software. So even though the software does all the calculations and things of that nature for us, we still need to know what we need to know to make sure we can catch the mistakes that software might not be able to handle because they might have a glitch in it or it might not be updated right. And so you need to have the knowledge and skills necessary to prepare taxes and not rely on the software to get the job done. Because if you don't know what you're doing, you don't have a clue if the software has a glitch in it or if it's messed it up or things of that nature. And based on my years in this industry, I have been in situations where the software had glitches where I didn't catch it because one of the problems that you face by doing this as long as I have is that you get comfortable and relaxed and complacent with the software doing all the work for you, doing all the heavy lifting for you, that you can miss some things. And then I caught some stuff after the fact when now I have to make those things right. So you want to definitely acquire the knowledge and skill to do the work with, master the software, and the key to all that is finding someone who's gonna help you learn all this stuff, or you gonna do it all by yourself. The choice is yours. So the next phase of this return is we go down to one. One says, do you complete the return based on information for the applicable tax year provided by the taxpayer or reasonably obtained by you? That response should be yes. And so for this video training purposes, we're gonna deal with a taxpayer with 2 kids. She worked one job, and so she's definitely gonna get earned income credit. She's gonna definitely get uh, qualified for tax credit and additional child tax credit. And those other 2 things won't apply in this video. So the next question is, if credits are claimed on the return, did you complete the applicable EIC and or child tax credit, additional child tax credit, undependent credit worksheets found in the Form 1040, 1040SR, 1040NR, 1040PR, or 1040SS, or Schedule 8812? That should be yes. 3 says, did you satisfy the knowledge requirements? To meet the knowledge requirements, you must do both of the following: interview the taxpayer, ask questions, and contemporaneously document the taxpayer's responses to determine that the taxpayer is eligible to claim the credits and have household filing status if applicable. That's yes. Number 4 say, did any information provided by the taxpayer or third party for use in preparing the return or information reasonably known to you appear to be incorrect, incomplete, or inconsistent? This should be no. If you have to say yes to that, then you shouldn't be doing a return at all. And if you decide to do the return anyway after saying yes to that, then you need to have very detailed, documented information inside your file folder, because it will get audited. The next thing is we skip A and B based on the instructions and go to 5. 5 say, did you satisfy the record retention requirements? To meet the record retention requirements, you must keep a copy of your documentation referenced in questions to 4B, a copy of this Form 8867, a copy of any applicable worksheets, a record of how, when, and from whom the information used to prepare Form 8867 and any applicable worksheets were obtained, and a copy of any documents provided by the taxpayer that you relied on to determine eligibility for the credits and a head of household filing status if applicable. And so that's what this yes is all about. And then right here, you can list those documents that were provided, if any, that you relied on. And so you can use this to do that. Then the next question say, did you ask the taxpayer whether he or she could provide documentation to substantiate eligibility for the credits and or head of household filing status? And that should be yes. Number 7, did you ask the taxpayer if any of these credits were disallowed or reduced in any previous year? And so when we ask the question this way, a lot of clients might not necessarily understand that. So I simply ask them, in any prior year other than the year we in right now, have you been given a letter asking you to send additional information concerning the tax return? And when you put it that way, I generally understand that, and they'll say yes or no if it applies to them. And then for that, we'll to this question we would say yes. And then 7A said, did you complete the required certification form 8862? Only way we would say yes to this if they said yes to the first one. So if they said yes, they have received the letter, then we would say yes to this. If they said no to that, they didn't, we would go no or not applicable and click that button. This here deals with if a taxpayer is reporting self-employment income. So any clients that's not having self-employment income, meaning they don't have a 1099 NEC, a 1099 miscellaneous form, or 1099K dealing with business, then we'll basically click not applicable and go to the next question. Part two, due diligence questions for returning claiming EIC, for returns claiming EIC. So have you determined that the taxpayer is eligible to claim the EIC for the number of qualifying children? We say yes to that, especially we dealing with this scenario where she has 2 kids, she worked a job, she made under the dollar amount to qualify for earning tax credit, and so it'll be yes to these 3 questions. B, did you ask the taxpayer if the child lived with the taxpayer for over half the year? Yes to that. And C, did you explain to the taxpayer the rules about claiming the EIC when a child is a qualifying child of more than one person? We say yes to that. Then we go to the next section. And this here says 10. Have you determined that each qualifying person for the child tax credit, additional child tax credit, or other dependent credit is the taxpayer's dependent who is a citizen, national, or resident of the United States? Is yes to that. 11. Did you explain to the taxpayer that she or he may not claim the child tax credit or additional child tax credit if the child has not lived with the taxpayer for over half of the year, even if the taxpayer has supported the child, unless the child's custodial parent has released a claim to exemption for the child? And that would be yes. Then 12. Did you explain to the taxpayer the rules about claiming child tax credit, additional tax credit, or other dependent credit for a child of divorced or separated parents? Yes. Then the next thing, did the taxpayer provide substantiation for the credits such as 298T? We didn't have that situation in this return, so we either say no to that or just skip it altogether. We just say no. 14, have you determined that the taxpayer was unmarried or considered unmarried on the last day of the year? We say yes to that. Then 15 is all about uh, well, this eligibility certification. You will have compiled with all the due diligence requirements for claiming the applicable credits and had household filing status on the return. And so these are the things they talked about, and then we say yes to that, and then we finish. And so we filled out this form. Now the thing about this form here is going to look different based on the software provider you use and their configurations. But the questions will be the same. They just might be formatted differently, which can be confusing and it might throw you off if you're used to answering them in a certain way based on using a certain software and the way they got it configured versus another. You know what I'm saying? So that has happened over time. This form has changed over time, where it's not as simple as it used to be, and the format of this form is different based on the professional tax software vendor. And so if you need to understand how to fill this form out, then you have 2 options. You can find someone who you can invest in and pay who's gonna help you make that happen, or you're gonna be self-taught, learn this on your own, and then go out and try to find a group or forum or a place where you can validate what you're learning to be correct. And so that's the biggest problem about being self-taught. You have to go somewhere and hang out with some people to find out if the information that you're learning and the interpretation of the information that you're learning is it correct or not. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to this, that's why I'm a part of different Facebook groups, different uh, places that I can go and learn and get the correct information on how to interpret this information correctly and apply it to each and every client correctly when the time presents itself during tax season. And so this here form, again, is called pay Preparer Due Diligence Checklist, Form 8867 is a very important form. The penalty for each offense is 540. It can be very costly if you found in non-compliance of these different credits as a tax preparer. And I'll see you in my next video.